Now that we have our assembly fully notched and normalized, we want to add some keys to it to make it easier for assembly. We're going to take advantage of the fact that we're cutting this on a laser and we're CNC bending it. We really want to make it as simple as possible and turn this thing into a Lego piece. So one of the first things I'm going to do is I'm going to edit this tube. And I'm going to create a plane on this vertex and to the line. I'm going to draw an outer and inner profile, and I can make these mated to each other. So I'm really just trying to make it so that I have a perfect fitting sketch line to the end of the tube. Okay, there we go. And then I'm going to add one key to this. So the way I like to do it is kind of like making like a pizza. I'm going to put my lines out to here. And if I look at it from the bottom, I'm going to make it symmetrical just so it's nice and clean. So I will put 0.1, and these sizes are up to you, but this is just my go-to sizes. And then I go to trim entities. I like to use power trim and keep trim entities as construction geometry. This just makes it so that it stays nice and clean and you can see everything still defined and turns black. So now I have this key, you can see that, and when I hit exit sketch, I can then extrude this key out. So you can see it's way down there where I made my plane. If I want to though, I can go ahead and offset this a little bit closer and then extrude it into the tube and make sure my merge result is on. So you can see right there that key is all set up to go in there. I'm sticking out quite a bit in there, which sometimes is kind of nice if it helps you kind of put it together, but in this case I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. Okay, so there's our key. And then I'm going to now edit the component that it's interfering with. I'm going to make a sketch right on the end of the key, so I'm going to use it as my plane. And I'm going to do offset entities. My go-to for any generic assembly is going to be 20 thou. So you can go tighter. I would say a lot of times the cope is what's lining things up and you're using these keys just to kind of get everything into place. And sometimes having these keys a little bit looser like this makes it where if you have a complex assembly, you have enough wiggle room to get everything in its spot before you finalize its position. So something simple like this, we could go tighter, but I seem to find that 20 thou or even 15 thou seems to work really good, and that's radially, so all the way around. So I'm going to exit the sketch, extrude cut, and there we go. Now we have a key going right into the tube. Now, one thing to remember is that these keys, you can have as many as you want to, but make sure you keep these keyholes away from bends. Let's say this key cutout was right there at the beginning of this bend where my mouse is, and there's a good possibility that when we go bend that tube that it is just going to fracture because that feature is so close to the bend, and the bender is going to put so much stress on that on the tube that it's going to crack right there. So we want to avoid that. So let's keep in mind, we want to make sure we keep keys at least, you know, half an inch, 3/4 of an inch away from the beginning and end of a bend, just so we can have like a nice, healthy, clean margin for us to bend in. Now, the one thing I will say is that in this case, the key is being cut straight down. So this keyhole is technically not normalized. This is okay. Our software and most any laser software will be able to normalize cut this, or what they would consider correct the inner and outer contours so that they are normal cut. So it's looking at the inner and outer contour. Because this is a closed shape, let's call it essentially a hole or a closed contour. The software has a really easy time correcting it. So this is the one case where I recommend not normalizing it. However, if you want to, you could do the same process where you make the inner and outer, and then you would draw all your ruled surfaces on the bottom of the key and then trim the top. It's really not necessary. This is the one case that you get to leave it as it is unless you want to see what the true thing is going to be in real life.